I came across this story and I thought this will be fun. We don't talk about this a lot, but hey, you know what? You may be at that stage in your life when you're thinking, yeah, retirement, maybe not, maybe yeah. But you know what? I think the one thing that has changed is we're not talking just about people who've reached that, whatever, 65, 70, 75. Younger people are thinking of doing this as well. So when I came across the article, I thought this would be fun to share. William P. Barrett is a senior contributor with Forbes. He's based in Las Vegas and has spent, this is kind of fun, 15 years compiling a list of the best places for you to consider if you're looking at retiring. Mr. Barrett, thanks for being here this afternoon.
How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Let me ask you, with respect, because people wonder, well, what makes one place better than another? So in making your picks, what do you take into consideration?
Well, I should start out by saying it's somewhat from a U.S. perspective, and there are certain issues probably unique to the U.S. Like, you have a more universal health care up there. We don't have it here.
Mm-hmm.
Tax issues are different too, whether when you leave the country, you're taxed in Canada. I understand it's a lot more subtle, whereas in the U.S., you're taxed worldwide. But there's a lot of reasons to leave. In a lot of situations, you can save money. It's different. It can be exciting. It can be some people just want to change. And you, as you correctly point out, a lot of people are retiring earlier and earlier. We do a number of retirement lists around here. You're asking about our foreign retirement list, but, we run into people, retiring at age 50, 52. I think COVID got a lot of people thinking about an early retirement. Let's move to that vacation home early and fix it up so it's winterized, and then we'll be there when it's time to retire.
Well, so when we talk about foreign, because let's focus on that for a second, there's also the issue, you might think a place is great to go, but there's an issue with actually being allowed to get in. You need permission to stay in a country, right?
Well, that is true, and that's one of the factors is how easy is it to get a right to stay there. Now, we're not necessarily saying citizenship, but something, akin to a longer-term residency.
Mm-hmm.
And some countries are extremely free and easy on this. Others harder. I mean, it often makes sense to hire a local lawyer to schlep it through the system. But that's a big factor. Obviously, you can't suggest a place if you can't get a right to stay there.
By the way, I should point out, when you do make that move tax-wise, depending on the country you're leaving from, and if you take your money with you, when you go to certain places, some easier than others, as you're suggesting here, they make it easier for you to get there as well in terms of the tax that you're going to be paying, right? Because you're not a permanent citizen.
Well, it depends. Again, we tell people do not take a foreign retirement expecting to save taxes, because at least if you're an American, you have to pay it in the U.S. If you're lucky, you get a credit for anything you have to pay somewhere else. Some other countries will not tax pension income. Spain, for instance, doesn't tax the pension income of teachers coming from someplace else. You get all these little quirks, but that's probably not. If you think you're going to save money on taxes on a foreign move, you are probably going to be sadly disappointed.
Oh, well, there's something to keep in mind. Okay, look, I looked down the list you had, and obviously because you said this is geared for Americans, you have Canada on the list as someplace that you think. I do. Yeah. What's the advantage to Canada in your take?
Well, besides the fact that it's a nice place,
yeah.
Canada makes it not easy for Americans to move there in retirement, but there are so many Americans have family up there, and the system allows for certain preferences depending on relationships, that it's a significant number of people down here who might be able to go there. So we put it on the list. But obviously Canadians, it's not a foreign retirement if you're a Canadian retiring to Canada. Yeah. But, the cost of living is same as the U.S. The health care is pretty good and it's very affordable. There's a lot to commend it.
Well, then let me go back then for Canadians listening to this, our audience here, and thinking, okay, maybe Europe. A lot of people talk about that. The ones, if I understand this right, you didn't list them as better to worse, I guess. You list them alphabetically. Is that for a reason?
Well, I think it would be disingenuous for us to rank them. I mean, we're looking at broad chunks of data. We're generalizing. I mean, we do U.S. lists too, and we don't rank them. We run them alphabetical. That hasn't stopped a couple of places whose like first letter is A from claiming that they're at the top of a Forbes list,
Oh, I
which
see.
is
Okay.
not totally true. Well, it's true, but not for the reason they're suggesting.
So with respect to you, what have you done? Do you still live in the States right now? I mean, what have you done in terms of
Well,
retirement?
I live in Las Vegas.
Okay.
I'm not retired because if I was retired, I probably wouldn't be talking to you about this list.
Fair enough.
I live in even though Las Vegas is a big retirement area in the U.S., we actually don't put it on our list because we think there are medical care issues
Right.
here. We look at factors like, health care. We even look at climate change issues. We're probably there's maybe a dozen people that do these lists domestically, internationally. And we were the first to look at natural hazards and climate change issues. You don't want to relocate to some place only to find you suddenly have to move to higher ground.
Yeah, sure.
So we take that into account. And there's some countries we use data from most of the data, and we're making our own judgments. But we're taking data that anybody can look up. There are United Nations lists of countries that rank every country in the world, like 200 of them almost, on natural hazards, which is also climate change risk. And that's one of the reasons the Philippines never gets on our list, because they're almost at the bottom of that.
Listen, I got to wrap up. I have 60 seconds to go. If I'd ask you to pick, say, the top 3 spots based on, this article and where, the work you've done, what would they be?
That's awfully hard to say. I mean, part of it is somebody's preference and culture. We have a lot of places in Europe. I mean, we have places in Central America. Costa Rica is, a very popular place among Americans going down there, although I think so many Americans are getting down there, it's starting to get more expensive. It's really hard. But, you can go to Forbes.com and you can find this and the other 2 lists, too. I mean, the other 2 lists might be of interest to your listeners if they want to think about the U.S., because they're U.S. lists. By
the way, so someone else sent me a note here saying Panama's been on a list for a while. Is that the case? Do you know?
It is. Panama's on our list. They're on a lot of lists. They're a place that is very tax friendly in the sense that you won't get a double bite of it. They want people to come there, and they have tax treaties and arrangements, and they give people who come there tax breaks. And Panama is we have described it as Florida on the cheap.
Oh, okay. Well, that works. So that's good climate-wise as well. Mr. Barrett, I got to go. I thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years. And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.